All right, looks like we're live here. This will be my first ever live stream, so kind of excited about that. Had a few folks with a few questions that have been sent in to me via email that I'll cover, but it looks like we already have a couple of things down in the chat. Got got a handful of folks watching right now, so that's good. Just enter any question you have in the chat, and chats will take precedent over my emailed in questions. But anyway, so we'll, without further ado, we'll just get started. It looks like private listing videos says, what taxes do I need to be aware of? Okay, well, of course, income tax and sales tax. Now, I'm in Texas, so it may be different. You know, there may be some folks that either watch this later after it's been posted on the channel or something that are in other areas. And so there may be some slightly different things there. But as far as in the state of Texas, you have sales, you have your sales tax, which is handled by the state. State Comptroller's Office is where you go down and you set that. Now, you may or may not be required to collect sales tax, but just depending on what you sell. If you're selling food or services, some services are, say, for instance, if you mow more than $4,000 worth of grass in a year, you're required to collect sales tax. But most services aren't. Sales tax, mainly just products. But the Texas Comptroller's Office is one who can help you with all of that. So now the other thing is income tax. Of course, everybody's familiar with that. But the one that a lot of folks aren't familiar with is county property taxes. So all of the equipment and inventory and things of value that make up or that you need to utilize in your business will be taxed the same as your house, same rate. Here in McLennan County, I think it's like 2.8% or something. That's one that seems to surprise a lot of people from time to time. But you know, and that's just here in Texas. I'm sure other places have property tax and may even have state income taxes that have to be dealt with, but we don't have that here. So anyway, and maybe in some places even city tax, but I'm not aware anywhere in Texas that does that. Certainly not in Central Texas where I am. So let's see. Let's, all right, so let's go to some email questions then. Or no, wait, I got one more here. Precinct Club asks, how can I protect against inflation? I mean, that's a tough one. Probably the most important thing you can do is make sure that you're staying on top of your numbers, staying on top of your financials, making certain that you know what your cost inputs are, what your profit margins are, and that they're not getting deleted. You're adjusting either price or in any other way that you can adjust. You know, so that you're still ending up with the same percentage. Because even if you ended up with the same amount of income, as everything goes up, you're that's just like you taking a pay cut. So you need to try to ride that same percentage. So if you're running at about 10% profit margin, try to maintain that as best you can. That's not going to be easy in this world, and depending on how sensitive your client, your customer base is to you know to your price increases. But keep in mind, one thing is pretty much everybody has to deal with this process. People know it's going on. They see it. Gas is up, food's up, everything's going up. So just make sure you're conscious of it, staying on top of your numbers, and making sure that you're not letting those increased input costs basically ruin your bottom line. So let's see. No, nothing else on the chat. So let's move on to some of the questions that I have. Okay, yeah. So these are emails that I've had that came in over a little bit of time from people that were in some of my training seminars here. So he's asking, what are the 3 marketing things again? So, all right. So that's let me. I do a marketing seminar where I kind of go over various things, but one of them are the 3 things that you need to be aware of, and you need to be good enough at 2 of them, and the best within whatever your defined market is in one of these 3. Okay, so let me explain that. It's kind of so you need to pick a niche. Okay, some niche. It can be anything. It could be a type of customer, a type of service, a type of area. It could be a geographic niche. You can niche in about as many ways as you can envision. And you need to find a niche, though, that's large enough to support you financially, yet small enough that you can dominate it and be the, in the single entity or business or person that's thought of in that realm. So let's take insurance sales, for instance. So, you know, and if you find enough, people that are, say, rock climbers and you know, and you can double niche to narrow these things down. And like I said, as long as you make sure there's enough people to support you or enough business to support you. So let's say you just become the insurance agent for rock climbers, okay, and that's going to be your niche, and that's what you focus on. Okay, so having said that, then you're going to want to focus your marketing efforts towards that niche. You're going to want to, have your name in front of people that are rock climbers. You want to develop a process by which all rock climbers say, "Oh, well, I'm a rock climber, so this is where you get your insurance from." Rock climbing insurance is us, or whatever whatever you're called. So that's the niche piece of it. Now, to go to the three things about being the best and good and what have you on that deal. Okay, so let's start with there's three of them. There's operational excellence, product differentiation, and customer intimacy. Okay. Now, what do we mean by these things? So, operational excellence is going to be just how well you run your machine, how well you stay on top of everything, and so that there's no money, being lost or wasted, no wasted product. Just how well. Walmart's a great example of operational excellence. Their logistics are, beyond compare, really. Now, and that's how they compete. That's their main focus point, right? So then product differentiation, those are going to be things like I have a Dr. Pepper distributorship for an area, or maybe I have a McDonald's brand, or some sort of branding would kind of fall into that mix as well. All right. Or you have a specific product that can't be gotten anywhere else, right? So like you're the only guy that fixes pools, or you're the only one with this particular product to solve this issue. I mean, we had a guy here in town that was the only guy basically in the country. I think there's one other guy. So he's like one or two people in the U.S. that worked on a specific type of printing press. Now, not all places had that printing press, but there's still enough around to keep him busy as these things, we're phasing out. So that would be like product differentiation. He's the only guy that can work on that, or something like that, right? So the third one is customer intimacy. This is where most small businesses can compete. It's knowing your customer, providing your product or service in a way that the customer wants it, the way they expect it, in a different way than the way other people would provide it, and so that they can, so that they can maximize that experience. So now let's go back to like Walmart, for instance. Okay, so their operational excellence knows that's where they compete. Okay, so their margins, their buying power, their efficiency and logistics, all of those things go into their ability to create profit. Differentiation. There's not really anything at Walmart you can't get anywhere else, really, right? So they don't really have much in the way of product differentiation. Maybe they're good enough at having enough products all in one location. So that's to some degree of that. So that's kind of good enough, but they're certainly not the best. And they have no exclusivity on anything, right? Third one's customer intimacy, right? I mean, there's not a lot of relationship with Walmart. As a matter of fact, there's always 37 registers, but like 6 are open, right? And so, you go in the winter, the place is cold. You go in the summer, and the place is hot, right? So, but not just too hot, but not just too cold either. I mean, it's like I'm sure they scientifically know that if we can keep it at this range, we can stack people up 6 deep or whatever the number is, and we won't lose any of them. Or we will lose only a certain amount. And so economically feasible for us to to upset those customers and send them on, right? So that all plays into their number one. They're probably the best at operational excellence, and then they're just good enough in the other two to keep us from swearing off of them completely. Now, you know, uh, are other companies doing these things? Sure. I mean, this is just an example to explain this, and I want to debate Walmart's validity in these things. But that's the gist of the three things. So that's what you need to do. And most, like I said, people can focus on that customer intimacy as far as knowing their customer and providing things. I mean, that's where Walmart cannot compete with you as an individual local business, right? They can't be the one that's Walmart's not going to be at every local football game. Walmart's not going to know all their customers' names and their background and what's going on in their lives. They're not going to know those kind of things. And then that's not it takes a while then for them to understand and realize the things that people want and need, so that a smaller local, more nimble business can respond to those things right as they see them. Right as somebody tells you, hey man, I wish you had this, or I wish you did it this way, or I wish things would work this way, and then you can instantly respond. A large corporation can't. That's the big advantage that you have over a large corporation, basically. So let's move on, see if we got anything on. Nope, nothing down in the chat. But so let's move on to the next one. Okay, can I get a grant to start my business? No. I mean, that's kind of a oversimplification, but chances are there aren't going to be grants available for you. Now, are there grants? Sure. Around here, we have EDC grants, and they're going to be based on how many employees that you can hire, and they're handled at a municipality or county level, and they really run. So yeah, are there some grants? Sure. But it's not like you can just sign up and there's going to be a wealth of grant, and it's certainly not going to fund even even 40% of your needs. So yeah, can you get supplemental things to kind of help out here or help out there? Maybe a little bit with this or that. Sure. And those are going to be, you're going to be looking for EDCs like through your cities or through economic development corporations that are going to be local. But there's no like SBA grant to just give you money. They have two grants. One is for developing, technology, and the other one's along the same lines. So, I mean, yeah, if you're developing some specialized product or something like that, sure. But if you're a normal mom and pop business, restaurant, service contractor, boutique, all those sort of things. No, there's really nothing out there. From various times, there are things like banks will run a thing, or some organization, or I think I heard J-Lo's doing something. Yeah, I mean, those things are around, but just to have this constant thing, hey, yeah, go get this grant. And those things pop up and pop out very quickly. So if you happen to stumble across one, just be prepared to act on it pretty quickly and see what it is that you can do. But, but generally speaking, no, there's not going to be anything that you can count on. So sorry about that, but it's kind of the way it is. All right, here's one. Do I have to carry workman's comp insurance? No, you don't have to. You can do what's called self-insured. And so now, once again, I'm in Texas here. So what that means is, yeah, you don't have to carry an insurance, but if if your people get hurt, your business is responsible for it. Okay, if they get hurt on the job. So I recommend everybody, if you're going to have employees, have workman's comp insurance. I mean, I had a friend of mine who happened to have a corporation. He was at the stage where it made sense for him to draw as a W-2 carrying workman's comp. He fell off a roof. He must have had 7 to 8 surgeries. Workman's comp covered all of it. Because that's, kind of that's what they do. Worked out pretty well for him in that circumstance. So don't, and it's really not nearly as expensive as you think, depending on what it is that you do. So just, go to an independent insurance agent, get a quote, see how it would fit in. Like I said, I think you'd be surprised it's not nearly as competitive. Now, it's based in Texas, at least, it's based solely on your amount of payroll. It's a percentage of your payroll. So what and the ability to compare one insurance company against another, you're going to have to know what that rate is, or give them the same amount of payroll. Don't let them alter how much your annual payroll will be, or monthly payroll, however they ask it to you. Give them those same numbers each time, because that's the only way. Because what happens is you say, oh, I think it'll be, I think we'll have, $70,000 in payroll this year or whatever. Okay, well, they're going to set that out, and that's what they're going to take from you monthly. It's going to be your payment. But then they're going to ask for an audit sometime after the end of the year. How much? Well, if it was 100,000 in payroll that you actually spent, they're going to send you a bill for that difference, and you're going to need to pay it then. So try to be very accurate on what it is that your payroll estimates, and then or a little low, and then stay on top of it. So when if your payroll is going outside of that normal parameter, that you're socking away enough money to handle that additional insurance cost when it comes up. So just a little workman's comp there. All right. Here's a guy, HVAC. So, well, what's the best marketing for HVAC repair guy? Well, I think you really meant advertising. Marketing kind of goes back to the other things that I, told you about. Be the HVAC guy for a specific, niche that big enough to support you and small enough for you to dominate, right? So, but just probably the most bang for your buck is having some sort of wrap or that sort of thing on your vehicle. Your vehicle's going to it's out there. It needs to be a billboard. But then make sure that you have most prominently the way you want them to contact you. If you want people to call your phone number or to text you or to email, however it is that you want them to contact you, that needs to be the most prominent thing. Also, be careful when you go into some place. You wouldn't have to have a whole wrap, just some little piece to do it. Don't forget the back of the vehicle, because that's a place where a lot of people will see you while you're in traffic. The other thing is, when you go in to get these things done, when you walk into a sign place and they have a graphic designer there to help, lay everything out. I mean, these guys are generally or gals are generally fairly artistic, and they want to do some really neat and cool things. And everybody's probably seen these cars. You go, oh, wow, that's a really interesting wrap. I wonder what they do for a living. I mean, it's just the whole thing was so busy or so, unique and interesting that you even lost track of what it is that they did for a living. So don't let them do that to you. Make sure you keep the number one thing, which is being able to communicate how they need to talk to you and the services you provide or the niche that you represent. So if you can articulate that in a very concise and quick manner, that'll really benefit that. Here's another little technique for anybody that goes to a household to provide a service: electrician, HVAC, duct cleaning, janitorial people, whatever it is, right? You go to somebody's house. It's called a box 9. What it is you have some flyers or door hangers or whatever it is, and you hit the 2 houses on either side of the house that you're working on and the 5 houses across the street. Okay. How long will that take you? About 3 minutes. How many calls a day do you do? Okay. So let's say you do, 4 calls. You're talking about hitting, let's see, 36 people a day with a flyer. You can't tell me over the course of a month that's not going to pick you up some business if you get in the habit of that. What's it going to cost you? 12 minutes of your day, maybe? So that's another really big bang for your buck marketing idea. So anyway, let's see what else here. I got 2 more. I want to start a business, but my credit is bad. Okay. This is a big one. I see this quite a bit. And what that is, if it's going to depend on why your credit is bad. Well, first of all, you need to clean it up. Okay. The first thing you do, start paying your bills on time. If you haven't been paying your bills on time, you need to start. Okay. If there was a situation in the past that, caused some issues, maybe, you lost a job, maybe a breakup, whatever the situation might be, then sure, address those things, get yourself stabilized. But if you're having trouble paying your bills on time, or you've got so much debt, compared to your income, that it's very difficult for you to, to manage that cash flow. Getting into business is not going to make that better. If you're working a W-2 job where they pay you the same amount every paycheck, and you got bills that are the same amount every month, and you can't manage that, you got to focus on figuring out how to handle that. Because when you get into a business, you're going to have unexpected expenses all the time. You're going to have, varying revenue. Some months are going to be good, some months are going to be bad, some days, some weeks, whatever it might be. So if you think you're going to get yourself out of a financial situation that you're not able to manage very well now by starting a business, that's a fallacy. You're lying to yourself. You've got to learn how to manage your personal cash flow long before you start a business. Otherwise, you just set yourself up for failure. You really are. So do that. Manage your payments, manage your cash flow, and then after you've mastered that, start working on, there's all kinds of ways. There's tons of information on how to, repair your credit or get your credit in better shape. The other thing is, you may not have to actually have that great a credit to do whatever it is that you do. I mean, or what you're wanting to do. You may not be able to do it at the scale that you wanted to. I mean, I had one guy came to me and said, "Yeah, I need, I think it's like $200,000. I'm going to start this chair manufacturing facility." Or, okay, well, great. Well, this was a guy that he had no capacity to access that or whatever, right? So we ended up setting him up with, okay, I tell you what, next time you get some, you get paid, set aside enough money to buy 2 chairs, because you could do that. Buy 2 chairs, buy the material for 2 chairs, build them, sell those. When you sell those 2 chairs, take that money and build 4, then build 8, then build 16, and then, build up from there. Start small, at whatever level. And go that way. So, scale back your vision of what you want to do to something that you can actually act on, and then that would help in that situation. Let me see here. Don't have anything in the chat yet, so let's move on to how can I finance my business. All right. There's a lot of ways to finance it. It's going to tell you, but I'm going to touch, I think, because I know the person was asking this, so I'm going to tailor towards that. He's asking about the various SBA loans and conventional financing. Okay. So you go to a normal bank, they're going to want to, first thing they're going to want you to have, and this probably holds true for most SBA lending, they're going to want you to have probably 620, 640 or better credit score. Okay. Having the 800 is not going to give you any additional kind of, it's not going to be incredibly beneficial, right? It's just kind of, you're going to have a minimum credit score to kind of get in the door. Okay. And so once you have that credit score, get yourself in the door, then you're going to need to be, now we're talking about conventional bank, they're going to want you to be collateralized 1-to-1. Okay. That means, they need to, so if you borrow $100,000, they need to be able to take collateral from you and sell it for $100,000 this weekend at a garage sale. Okay. We're not talking about what you paid for it. We're not talking about, what people can get for these items. We're talking about maybe for things that have a long-term useful life, maybe you're getting 50 cents on the dollar. Real estate gets you 80 cents on the dollar. Vehicles, anything with a book value, will get you whatever that loan value is, typically. Things like software, computers, TVs, chairs, furniture, those aren't probably going to give you any value. If you're lucky, they may throw in a smidge of value to help you out, but you're talking about equipment that has long-term, like machinery of some sort, those sort of aspects for collateral. That's going to be the key points of that. Now, that same sort of collateral relationship isn't quite what happens with SBA loans, right? So on an SBA 7A, for instance, they will not turn you down for lack of collateral. Now, because what they will do is, but now having said that, I've never seen anybody that didn't have at least some collateral get approved, because we sent them up and they weren't able to get them approved, and other one that looked pretty similar but just had no collateral. Because I mean, there's certain businesses you don't have that much collateral that you're going to be paying for with the loan proceeds, you know. So, but they're going to want you to be have some collateral, but they won't turn you down for that. Okay, so that's the big thing that SBA gives you, right? And so, um, if you have real estate, you can do a 7A. You can also possibly do a 504. Uh, but I won't get into the weeds about that unless somebody really wants to know about specifically that, and you can put it in the chat if you do. But the 7A is going to let you say open up a restaurant. You buy some equipment. You're going to have a little bit of collateral there, probably not near enough, especially once they dox it down to 50 cents on the dollar. You're going into maybe a piece of leased real estate, right? And you probably have to do some finish out. There's no collateral value to the finish out. You're going to need a point of sale system, no real collateral, right? And so you can see, well, yeah, there's a lot of things I'm buying that have, maybe have some value, but not much of a resale value. Certainly not for a financial institution, right? Because those cars you see parked out for sale in front of the bank, nobody looks at that going, oh man, I bet I could pay full price for that. No, nobody wants to pay the bank full price for any kind of repossessed collateral, right? They're looking for some sort of a deal, and that's what they're up against, right? So anyway, so that's kind of that's the advantage of a 7A. It helps you kind of get in now. This is a very high overview, and so if somebody wants to have more particulars on it, let me know. So, all right. So, I did get a chat here down here. What green stock do you recommend? Okay. Well, I don't do any stock pickings. Uh, you know, so what I would do is anytime I'm looking at any kind of business venture, I look at their financials. Are they paying their bills? And are do they having plenty of cash to handle that? Are their liabilities as related to their assets in line? Those would be the things that I review as far as just an individual stock. Does it look good or does it look bad? Um, certainly green technology, that industry has got some legs on it, and it's not going away anytime soon. In fact, we're probably going to have at least somewhat of a surge in those sort of things. I'm not sure what Merchgard is interested in there. If you want to follow up on that, I'd be happy to discuss it. If there's any other question with that. So, shoot. Well, man, that's all I have. Unless some of you folks have something else that you might want to ask, I'd be happy to cover it. But otherwise, I'm going to go in once, going twice. All right, guys. I'll probably do another one of these when I get a few more questions that I need to get answered. And of course, this thing will be loaded up on the channel so anybody can review it. And we kept it under 30 minutes. So looks like a pretty good first live stream. Thanks.